Avatar role-playing game, and he started. Sorry.
No, keep going. It was fun.
He's reading the Avatar role-playing game, and I said, "Oh, that's powered by the apocalypse," and he just looked at me. He's like, "Wait, what?" And so then we got into a whole discussion about systems, and sometimes you can talk about just entire game line, like game categories, just by the system name. It was fun.
What? Okay, this is weird. Let me refresh. It says we're broadcasting. There we go. Now I was going to say, but I can't see it on my page. I'm like, why is my page just showing the preview picture still? What's going on? Makes no sense. Hey there, hi there, oh there, it's me, Bear, the Gen X GM. I see lots of people showing up in the chat. I see Spine Ticks over on Cody's channel, I'm assuming. Yep. And I see Chris from the Hilt. I see Jenny from the Block. No, just Chris from the Hilt. I see Michael Chad, Legion of Myth, Jason Harris, Seraphis, and Baron G-Rock. How y'all doing, man? What's going on? Mike Percival just showed up. My best to the missus. Adino the Esnite. Someday I'm going to ask you the story behind that, but not today. Carver's also here. Carver has been fucking spazzing out on the comments from the Christmas stream. I get like endless emails. Carver has commented, and it's like a fucking paragraph about something we didn't discuss or some clarification. Man, you're really into Palladium, Carver. I'm telling you now, man. Start a channel. Please start Palladium a channel talking about Palladium. Sorry, go ahead, Cody. What was that?
I was just going to say, Palladium fans are serious, man.
Yeah.
No shit, man. Also, Violence solves everything. Bibbity bobbity, stomper boom, romper room, baby. Don't even talk shit about romper room. Was it in Pittsburgh? The girl from Romper Room in Pittsburgh got busted for something really horrendous, I think it was. And then there's another city where their girl got killed because every city had their own Romper Room chick, right? With the mirror, and she got. Am I aging myself for most of you here?
Yes. I know.
I see Brian and Cody and Malachi and Astro Zombie and the Crafting Gamer. Anyway, moving on. Dale, how you doing? Dr. Huddleston, how you doing? Mr. Dress Up Rock, thank you for free associating, James. I always appreciate that. So we are here tonight. Hey there, hi there, oh there. And we are going to be talking about Palladium Fantasy. Now, I had assumed we were going to be talking about 2E, but Cody decided to start reading 1E, and he seems to be having a change of heart. I don't know.
I didn't really have a change of heart from the get-go. I thought I pretty much stated that I didn't care which edition we played.
No, I just meant in general about preference.
Yeah, I didn't really even have a preference because I've never looked at first edition until today. And I started reading through it. Of course, last night I basically read through the whole second edition book and then read some more of this afternoon. And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to read through the first edition book too because I want to know what that's all about. And yeah. I really
what I love about you, Cody? You set me up with song lyrics all the time.
Well,
I want to know what that's all about. And my brain went, I want to know what you're thinking. And I'm like, crap. Your energy. I'm like, no, dang. Is this what your brain's like, Brian? Is this what is like how I relate to song lyrics, how you see the entire world?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Good to know. I'm on top of that shit.
Notice anytime I bring up something, it's usually going to be like, well, in relation to this, like one time I went to England and you gave me an easy setup, Bear.
It was cute when you didn't do it and we did it for you. Now you're just pandering. I don't know. I'm very unimpressed with you, sir, now.
Look, got to play to the crowd.
Okay. So we are here tonight to talk about Palladium Fantasy. We're not here to talk about riffs. We're not here to talk about TMNT and other strangeness. We're not here to talk about mechanoids. So that's what we're here for. Now, joining us for the first time really on a four-color cafe is Malachi. Malachi, tell everybody why you're here.
I'm here because I love Palladium. I'm ready to game.
But we're not gaming tonight. We're here to talk about the game.
Wow.
We're not
just
playing.
Saying.
We don't actually play games.
I know.
Here. We just talk
I've been in chat before.
You've been in chat before. Oh my god! All right, so if we break it down, if we take the moment we talk about it, we're going to talk about Palladium Fantasy. Now, Palladium Fantasy has a reputation from 1E of being AD&D house ruled to hell, right? That's sort of how the reputation of it's always been. There are many people who think that 1E is vastly superior because it didn't have any of the Rifts stuff brought into it. And that seems to be a big sort of sticking point. But we do live in a world where Palladium is only publishing 2E material right now, and that's where you're getting more expansion and update. We've discussed previously on the Christmas stream how hard it is to back convert from 2E to 1E, and it doesn't seem to be that difficult. But before we get into all of those levels of things, I would like Cody, if you don't mind. I was going to say Brian. What was I thinking? Cody, would you mind giving us just a general overview of Palladium Fantasy? Just give me the skinny, as they say.
Well, your observation is saying it's kind of AD&D with house rules is not too far off. I think that's probably where Palladium. I mean, I would 90% assume that's where all the Palladium system came from. But essentially, it's a skill-based system. Everything's percentiles except for your attributes, but you're usually never testing off your attributes. You're always testing off skills, and those are all percentile-based. You get a certain number of skills based on whatever character class you're playing, or occupational character class, as they like to call them. And for combat, it's a D20 roll. You still have armor class, like in D&D, so it's called armor rating. You're trying to beat their armor rating. Yes, you need a 5 or better to hit, but essentially what you need is more than their armor rating in most cases. And then your opponent also can dodge and parry and roll with punches. And that pretty much sums up the mechanics, the dirty mechanics of Palladium Fantasy. Palladium Fantasy also has its own world, which, to be honest with you, I'm not that familiar with. I've never really looked into the Palladium Fantasy world other than what is presented in the core rulebook, because that's the only thing I've read. I've never read any of the source books or anything for the most part. So I don't know much about the lore or anything. But yeah, it's, if you've played D&D, it's not too far off from that, other than it's much more of a skill-based game. The combat system is more reactive, which is, in my opinion, I really like those kind of systems. I've always been a big fan of the Palladium combat system. I think it's the strongest element of all the Palladium games. I really always have loved that combat system since I was a kid and played the Palladium games.
What is the reasoning behind loving it?
It just makes more sense to me, and it's a lot more fun because you're not just sitting there waiting for your turn. You're always doing something. So your opponent strikes, you get to parry, you get to dodge or whatever you're going to do, and then you get to strike back. So it's a continuous thing like that. So you're always doing something besides, okay, it's your turn, and then you have to wait, for however many other people to go through everything they're going to do. But in this case, Palladium combat's very quick and dirty. It's not a super technical, tactical, I should say, combat system. It's if you're looking for that kind of combat system, this is not Rollmaster. It's not even D&D in the detail of tactical combat. Now, you could play that way with a grid and miniatures and all that stuff, but it's very much more a theater of the mind kind of game. The other thing I like about Palladium, which we're just going into the things we like about Palladium really, but is the whole game is much more an improvised experience. You know what I mean? There's not a rule for every single thing. They expect the game master and the players to cooperatively, come up with the experience.
Sure.
And they really encourage that. And I like that about Palladium. It feels very, all around, it feels very much a theater of the mind and a very role-playing heavy game. But at the same time, it still has this slight crunchy aspect to it that the math part of my brain really tickles my math brain a little bit.
Fair enough. Really fast, we're going to say hey to Hungar. Hope you're feeling better, man. Update us on what's going on, please. We would like to know. Everybody's worried. Everybody's concerned. Now, Malachi. If you haven't subscribed to Malachi's channel, please do. It's Malachi of the OSR, it looks like. Is that the name for it there in your thing? Great.
Yeah.
go please and subscribe to his channel. It's fresh. He just started it. It'll be great to see it grow. And why are you not subscribed to GM Cody yet? Why? What do you got against him? Look at that hair. Come on, man. He looks like a painting of Aragorn. I mean, come on. Let's be honest. Creepy.
Good Aragorn.
Malachi.
Yes.
Do you agree with what Cody said? And do you have any other opinions on it?
I agree 100% with what he said.
And do you have anything you'd like to expand on that with? Yes, I agree. No. That's the end of the conversation. Joining us in the 11th minute is, of course, the one, the only.
Oh, wow.
And we will talk to him in a second. We're talking to Malachi right now. So Len knows when he shows up late to sit there and be quiet. So Malachi, go ahead.
Hola. Happy holidays.
Yeah, you too. Both of you. Shut up. It's Malachi's turn. Stop talking. Good God, you children.
What am I being busted for?
I'm blaming you, Brian, because it's easier that way.
That's
you
fair.
Blamed me for everything in your stupid video today. You put it all on my shoulders.
No,
like
I did not.
Man. All right.
No. Oh, don't you start that. Anyways, go Malachi.
Malachi. Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Brian says go. Now you must go.
I'm waiting for the question.
Do you have anything else to expand upon what Cody said? Third time I'm asking.
I think he covered it very well.
So you have no other insight you want to give about the system other than everything Cody said is awesome?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
Brian, your feelings on Palladium?
Okay, so I'm going to have to talk about Palladium just in a general sense. Yeah, because I, as we all know, Brian's not the fantasy guy. But let's be honest, Bear's getting interested. I'll probably, be following just out of general principles. But the thing that I do like about Palladium is really what Cody was getting at as far as that reactive system. I didn't understand it back when I was a kid. Like I thought the whole, especially because of their wording, it was, you end up with 7 attacks per round. Okay, well, I get to attack every round. Well, you're supposed to use your attacks for parry. You're supposed to use your attacks for dodge. So, but I didn't understand that. But as I've been digging into things and following things over the last year, I think it is actually a very, elegant little system where it keeps it easy as far as, okay, I need a 4 to actually hit my target. Okay, well, it seems really easy on a D20. But then when you realize that, okay, now that's that the target number that your opponent needs to dodge or block or whatever it is that they're going to do, then you start seeing how it can actually be a little bit more fun. Like Cody said, getting people more involved. I was actually flipping through Ninjas and Super Spies and found the section on vehicle, literally just opened to the section on vehicle combat. And I realized we're like, me and Malachi are essentially just saying, oh yeah, I agree with whatever Cody said. But his point about where they're also leaving it kind of open. Yeah. The vehicle combat rules really, really pointed that out to me, because it's talking about, okay, well, so you're driving a car. Now, it was really weird because they're like a 68 Cadillac. Okay, we're going to get it to top speed of 240 miles an hour. I'm like, come on, there's no way a Cadillac is getting to 240 miles an hour. Yeah, but even then, it showed just kind of the back and forth between the GM and the player being able, okay, well, I want to do this thing. Okay, well, these are some things. So I'm you have to do a piloting skill roll. But because of the broken up asphalt on the road, you're going to take a 20% penalty. Okay, and just really coming up with the stuff on the fly as far as what the players and the GMs thought made sense. And so I think that's given me a little bit more inspiration, just as far as, hey, there's a lot that you can do here without having to have every single thing spelled out. So yeah, I'm a big fan of the system. I wish I had understood it more back in the day.
Fair enough. So. Len, welcome. Haven't seen you in a while. How you doing?
Hey.
Okay, go ahead, Len. What are your thoughts on Palladium Fantasy?
It's fine.
And good night, Len.
I would push back on calling it elegant. I don't think it's remotely elegant.
No, we're not talking about the layout. We're not talking about that. We're just talking about the system in general.
No, I mean even the system. It comes from a different time in gaming, and it seems pretty clear to have been inspired by D&D.
Yeah.
But everyone took D&D to some extent, like, well, I'm gonna make my own D&D, but with blackjack and hookers. And Palladium kind of has that feel about it, and it's carried on this sort of wild exuberance, as is evidenced by the subsequent creation of Rifts, I think. But the fact of
yeah, they know
the
you
fact of the matter is, it works, and it especially works, I think, as what it was, which was an answer to Dungeons and Dragons. I think it's impossible to not see it as an answer to Dungeons and Dragons. And as such, it works. I think it's inelegant, but it's like eating barbecue. It's messy, actually, but the messiness works.
Hang on, I have a question.
Yeah.
What in that analogy then of Palladium Fantasy is barbecue? What is D&D? Pizza?
Well, D&D was messy as well. I mean, we're talking about, systems and subsystems for different things, and the idea of keeping, a unified die mechanic or whatever, which is stuff that we are now looking back at going, well, it's kind of like I miss the kind of roll percentage for thieves skills and whatever, and even though there's nothing else like it in the game. And so there's a quaint charm to it, and I don't want to say that in a negative way at all. The fact that it uses D20 to hit, but percentiles for skills, and objectively, when you look at the different rules and sub rules, it feels a little messy. But again, it's a very fun kind of messy. It's a very pleasant kind of messy. And I'm not saying AD&D wasn't, but I think by 3.5, let's say, they tried to tighten that messiness up, for better or worse. But
I think with the amount of Southerners in our chat and in this, I think your barbecue analogy is going to be like, and since, there's an awful lot of barbecue heads here. So,
dude, I love barbecue. Notice I said messy and wonderful. I didn't say anything bad.
And real quick, I think an easy way to take that barbecue analogy, is it's not that D&D is pizza instead of barbecue. It's Texas versus Tennessee barbecue, or North Carolina, or whatever. Pick another not Texas barbecue.
Kansas.
Everyone randomly pick one, I guess.
Right. Well, no, but I'm saying you could use it as that's your, it's still barbecue, but just different.
Yeah, but in the modern period, like in the 70s, I'd agree with you. They're both a different type of barbecue. In the modern era, fucking McDonald's, the McRib. You know what I mean?
D&D is a McRib
barbecue. You know what I mean?
D&D's a McRib.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, it feels like a barbecue, but no.
It's edible.
Right. Yeah, it's edible, but I'm going to regret it tomorrow.
I'm not sure it's
any other further points you'd like to make? Because I love SDC. Easy as 1, 2, 3. SDC. I'm in a singing mood tonight, guys. So if you don't like my voice, now's the time to leave, because I'll sing everything they put in front of me.
That's what I have to say for the moment.
Okay. All right. And joining us from the Legion of Myth, Mr. Max Liao.
Hello.
I put myself as the founder of the feast, but I think ultimately, really, that should be Max's term, since he's the one who got us all on this Palladium kick, actually. So
I've only been covering it for over 2 years.
Thank you, sir.
Right?
Thank you,
I blame his interview with Kevin, his first one.
That was a good one.
But Max, we're talking Palladium Fantasy tonight. Give us your overview on it.
I couldn't disagree with Len more. I love Palladium Fantasy for its subsystems. I think modern games are boring. I don't think that they add anything to the hobby as a whole. But games like Palladium, AD&D, so forth, really do with those quirks. Those quirks should be in games, because else they just become boring. Roll a d20, have a nice day. With that said, Palladium Fantasy, I love it, but it does have a couple of struggles. I wouldn't call them faults. I loved them because I was an experienced gamer. You can find that the classes can be a bit quirky, and if you don't know how to handle those OCCs up front, you might be like, well, why does my character not improve at all? Well, your character does improve. It's just you're front loaded. Well, I've got this weird ability, but it only happens in this niche aspect. Yes, you're right. It's up to the game master and it's up to you as the players to create that. It's not, well, you can do it. It's not a dungeon crawl game. It's not a boring every 10 minutes, whatever. You're role playing through the game. I think Cody said it's very much theater of the mind. It's very much reacting to what you do as players and characters. And Heathen Dog says this really well. Palladium, doesn't matter which version of it, but we're talking Palladium Fantasy. So I'll say that Palladium Fantasy is the second role playing game you should play after pretty much anything else, D&D, Forbidden Lands, or whatever, because you need a little bit of experience, at least as a game master, maybe not so much as a player, before you're ready to take on some of the idiosyncrasies of the game. And that is what's fantastic. It isn't messy. It's absolutely fantastic. It's cinematic and it's a novel-esque. And that's what I'm looking for in a game.
Okay. That was... Everybody else take notes, man. That's how you sing the praises of a game you love. Holy shit, dude. Oh, wait, no, that's when you've been talking about the game for 2 fucking years straight, and you completely narrowed down all your comments into just concise fucking bullet points. Okay, now, all right, so let's deal with the 800-pound gorilla in the room, and I will give my opinion and then see who disagrees with me. Could be, maybe not. I think we're all going to be in agreement on this. The biggest drawback on Palladium Fantasy, or a lot of Palladium games, layout and presentation.
Organization.
It's not the best. Organization, presentation, layout, lack of index, blah, 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 blah. I sat down this morning with my Palladium 2e and my Excel character sheet I just bought off of their website that calculates everything for you, and I was all excited, and so I'm going to do what I did with Against the Dark Master and what I did with any other game. I'm going to just start making a character. An hour later, I put on some Star Trek Deep Space Nine. I did the dishes. I pet the cats. I didn't want to even look at it anymore because I was confused. I was lost. I was reading walls of text. It just really, really is for me singularly the biggest drawback to any Palladium. And I know, we all know that's being changed with the new TMNT. There's a modernization of the layout coming. There's a whole sort of new style of presentation coming, which I really hope is going to be a great thing. But we know we're not going to see a Palladium 2e revised for another year or two at the least. So we have to work with what we have right now. So that's my biggest problem with the Palladium system, is that. Does anybody feel differently, agree, have other points they want to make? Yes, Cody, I see the finger going up.
Yeah, James made a comment, and I actually agree with this. And I was gonna say this too. He says it does encourage you to read the rules thoroughly and know them, no skimming. And I totally agree, because I played Palladium when I was a kid, like when I first got into gaming, and that going from AD&D, which is pretty complex for like a 9-10-year-old, and then going to Palladium was a huge step up. And I was very determined to learn it. I didn't know the difference. I didn't know it was more complicated. I was just like, okay, this is a little bit more involved. And I sat there and read the whole damn book, and learned the game. And I actually learned it. Because it kind of forces you to do that. And yeah, it is poor presentation and poor layout. But at the same time,
so was AD&D.
Yeah, I mean, AD&D was better.
Well, AD&D came first.
Yeah.
If you read AD&D, you had to have a dictionary handy.
That was the problem with AD&D. Yeah.
Translate Gygaxian to English, yes.
First edition AD&D for sure.
Yeah. I'm referring to first edition AD&D, not 2e. 2e was a vast improvement.
Well, I think I'll make one point about that. Like, there are issues where you look at what I'm going to call new Palladium. Heroes Unlimited 2nd edition or Rift's Ultimate edition, any of the more modern books that are pushing in like the 200 to 300 page range. Whereas back in the early 90s, I'm not finding it off the top, like right next to me, but a core rule book for a Palladium game was like 120 pages. And that had all of your monsters and your races and your robots and whatever. but you're literally looking at just like about 120 pages for your entire game book. So being able to say, oh yeah, just dig in and read everything. You're not having to pull out the arcane tome to find everything. It's just there in a few pages. So that
the arcane tome, is that 1E or 2E?
Yeah.
Well, also back in the day when I played Palladium a lot, we just kind of memorized where things were. So when we played Rifts, like I could literally just look at the Rifts book and be like, okay, here's the rules for missiles, and I could just open it up.
That was Robotech for us.
Yeah. Same thing with Robotech. When I played Robotech, it's the same thing. Like you kind of memorize where things are after you're used to it. But I will say it helps to have somebody there that knows Palladium pretty well when you're running a Palladium game. Like even if it's another player and somebody's running the game, at least for a while, like it really helps people create characters and stuff. Because creating a character in all the Palladium games is not complicated. It just it seems intimidating and overwhelming, but once you get into the process, it's actually really simple and easy.
Yeah.
It's just that intimidating, like you were saying, Bear, that intimidating wall of text and things are all over the place. Books.
So to address Mr. Liao and a couple others were like saying, well, you got to read the whole book and you got to know what you're doing. I totally agree, but I'm a dyslexic diagonal reader.
Yeah.
So it's laborious for me to read the whole book. It's laborious for me to have to go through the whole thing step by step. It's not impossible, but it does make my brain slow down. It makes me tired. It takes me a week to do it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now, I'm not saying that's a wrong thing. I'm just saying certain types of readers or certain types of learners are going to have a much easier time with it than others. I am someone who learns by doing. Examples shown to me and then doing. Right, and that doesn't have that ease for me in Palladium's layout, specifically in Palladium Fantasy 2E this morning, in that I want a step-by-step character creation walkthrough just as a one-pager or something that says do this, then do this, then do this, then do this, and that's something that modern games have really picked up on, I think, more so than older games. We see it a lot in the OSR now. We see a lot of people when they do their D&D hack or their D&D clone are putting their step-by-step character creation
Free League.
Freely are masters of it. Modifius, they're close, but against the Dark Master, absolutely amazing. Like it's probably one of the best. Like I literally opened the book for the first time, turned on the camera, and did a live make a character, and people who knew the game were going, "Yeah, you only missed one thing here," type of thing. And it was really a very different beast. So I think that's something that I would say colors my view of it, as opposed to saying it's a universal belief or a universal trope. But you hear it enough from the community that there's got to be some meat on that bone.
Can I make a response to that?
Absolutely.
I think one of the issues, at least in my experience, is that especially ever since D&D 3 and Pathfinder have become these encyclopedias versus being game books, is that people are afraid to make mistakes. Like they have to look up every rule. We didn't do that. Okay, so you know what? Your control roll was supposed to be minus 20%. I gave you a minus 10%. Who cares? But everybody's like, no. It's supposed to be. I don't care if it's what it says. What does your character sheet say? Well, I get a +2 to strike. Great, you get a +2 to strike. I'm giving you an extra +1 because you decided to brace against the wall. Well, where's that in the book? Because couldn't it be a +3? No, stop opening the book. That's one of the awesome things about Palladium. Is you were talking about the character creation. Yeah, the character creation can be long. But everything is on your character sheet when you're done. Yep. Everything. You don't need to look at the book. It's all right there in your character sheet. There's no rule looking up unless you're using magic. So it's all right there. You're ready to go. You're playing the game. And finally, to kind of combine them together, think of the Palladium system as a framework. It is a rule system, but it's not going to give you every single +1, -1, +5%, -5% that you can come up with in the game. It gives you that framework, and then you as the game master adjudicate it from there. And that's what I love about it. Rulings over rules.
No, it is absolutely a rulings over rules system. I agree. I'm just talking about the most common complaint for the game.
Can I jump into that rulings over rules thing?
One last statement, then yes, it would be what I would qualify as a barrier to entry in the modern age of gaming. That's all I'm saying. Okay, go ahead, Len.
Bear, I think there's no question that what you're saying about the structure and the organization and even just the way it's written, it would, per contemporary games, be seen as something of a barrier to entry. Back then, we didn't care. We bought it. No. We read the book cover to cover. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, I read it more than once cover to cover. So we just, and we didn't think twice about it. So, but there's something that Max mentioned about rules not ruling, about providing a framework, and about not nitpicking every rule or having every rule set out. And I think Palladium is an excellent example of doing that correctly, but you can do that incorrectly as well. And it's hard to figure out. I haven't put my finger necessarily on how it's done correctly or incorrectly, but I know that no game is going to give you a specific rule for everything, no matter how much money the game company wants to make by putting out splat books. You're always going to be making calls. There's no game that is going to give you a rule for everything. But there are games that, so all games are frameworks. The question, all games are frameworks. Some are better at it and some are worse. And the ones that are better at it have enough detail to make it easy for the game person running the game to be confident about how to utilize the tool that's in their hand. And there's something about what Palladium offers that does that. Pardon me. I know a lot of people say that old school Essentials or Classic BX was the same. And there I love Classic BX. I'm an old guy, so of course I love Classic BX. But I have to say, delicately, there I'd have to push back. I don't think Classic BX actually gave enough assistance in terms of rules versus rulings. And it's easy for us now in our 40s, 50s, 60s to say that. But at 12 or 13, it maybe was a little bit more daunting. But Palladium, for whatever reason, and maybe just there's enough words, there's enough text, there's enough detail that they go into that you do feel comfortable sort of running with it.
Okay.
For whatever that's worth.
Well, I'll tell you, look, to just jump back to what we played, which is we played Robotech. That was the Palladium game we played, was Robotech. I don't recall us ever stressing about rules. I don't recall us ever flipping like maniacs through the books. I just recalling us going, roll. What are you doing? Okay, roll. I just remember that's how we played it. I would say there is an argument to be made that the modern gamer has been changed quite a bit. James says earlier something James said, which was wing it and play on. Motherfucker, have you watched how I run the Star Trek game? I'm ignoring rules in 2D. I'm like, literally people going in the chat going, there's a rule for that. I'm going, whatever, we're going, moving on, because I don't give a shit. But we're just sort of taking an overview of the system at this point. Okay. Anybody have anything else they want to add to the layout, barrier to entry, sort of bugaboo of it all?
Other than what I said before, I think it just helps a lot when you have somebody there that knows the Palladium system and can explain it to everybody. And it really, the Palladium system is pretty damn simple, and it's intuitive once you get into it. Like, it looks daunting, but it's actually a pretty simple system. It's roll D20 to attack, roll under percentile for skill. That's it. And there's other stuff there. But there's nothing complicated about it. It's a very simple system. So once you actually start playing, once you get the players in there, past that barrier of entry of the intimidation of, the books, and they actually make characters and start playing, everybody I know that's played Palladium, even to this day, still remembers how to play Palladium. I can talk to my friends that we played 20 years ago, and they're going to tell me exactly how to do an attack and how to make a skill check and all that stuff. They remember all that stuff because it's simple. There's nothing hard about it.
D20 over 4, is that it? Is that the basic attack modifier? Over 5. So roll over 5 on a D20 and you succeed.
5 or more.
And on a skill, roll under your skill percentage and you succeed, right?
I thought it was 4 for melee, 5 for shooting.
It's 5. It's you want to get a 5 or better. So I guess it's over 4. Yeah, so you want to get a 5 or better. But now the newer rules also include an 8 or more for ranged attacks if you're over, I think it's 60 feet or something like that. James Huddleston has a really awesome comment up here. I'm sorry, no, it's Dale Russell, where the last sentence of this comment, I think it plays better than it reads, but it does read to be rules heavy, because that is a common complaint, that it's clunky.
Yes.
It's cool, but it's not. And there is something about that. I love Kevin's writing, but there's something about his technical writing acumen that I'm glad Sean's there for, that hopefully clears it up, because his lore books, all his world books and so forth, whatever, for any game, Palladium Fantasy Rifts are absolutely fantastic. Rules presentation, yes, it looks clunky, but it isn't, and that's the one misconception we can get people past, I think they'd love Palladium.
That's probably what's most frustrating. The fact that it is not a complex game. There are complex
it looks
games out
complex.
there. Yeah, it is not a complex game. It is, and the presentation tricks you into thinking that. And that's
I remember we tried to play Advanced Recon. We felt like we were playing Aftermath.
Hold on.
That doesn't. What the hell is this?
That doesn't count because Recon is a
before they
completely
start
different
climbing
game.
up the chair and me again, like they did yesterday. So I'm gonna let you guys talk. I'm gonna run feed the cats and come back.
Okay. I will agree with Max. I love just reading the lore in the books, and I will reread the books. It's that good.
I have an entire shelf of Palladium, an entire shelf of little Shadowrun and mostly Palladium books. So yeah, and maybe again, maybe Kevin was writing from. I mean, his writing was much smoother than AD&D. Than High Guy Gex.
Well, he used English.
Well, hey, let's use the not passive tense occasionally. But like I said, even the writing, I think, is a response to Dungeons and Dragons. And it's certainly more legible, and yet there's still so much. And maybe it is all his flavor, all his narrative that he adds is what makes you comfortable winging it. Just by the nature of, you're very much in the world, whatever the game happens to be.
Yeah.
I will also say sorry, Brian, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Go ahead.
I will say there's a certain charm to the way, like the bad layout and, all that stuff. I kind of find it charming and I kind of like looking at it, to be honest with you. I don't know what it is about it. I can't explain it. It's just an ethereal thing. Like every time I pick up a Palladium book, it's just like I want to look at it. Like it's fun to look at. I want to read it. It interests me for some weird reason. Like, so that never actually, I understand that's a barrier for some people. It's never been a barrier for me because it's kind of attracted me in some weird way. And I can't really explain it, but it is kind of charming in a way.
I feel exactly the same way, and it's not just with Palladium. So I get you.
Yeah.
Well, but okay, so the thing, I love the Palladium fantasy world. I've always loved it. It was the first time I encountered the idea of wolf people and stuff like that. I'm like, this is so interesting, and reading it all is very interesting. But at the end of the day, this is funny.
I was going to respond to that. Yeah.
And I will agree. I will agree with that 100%. People who are into Palladium are suffering from Stockholm syndrome because their brains finally got it, so now it's nothing for them.
But there's a benefit to consistency.
Someone over on someone's channel just got $20. Whose channel was that?
That's mine, Legion of Myth. So thank you,
WR
Finger. So
sorry. Let's deal with that. He paid. Let's deal. So thankful for you all taking the time to discuss this. I haven't heard anything I disagree with. Every time I pick up a Palladium book, there you go. Look at that.
Real quick.
Yeah.
Is it a Palladium book? It doesn't come up very well on the camera, but is it really a Palladium book if it's not in Times New Roman? I mean, come on.
Right. I'm reading Aliens Unlimited, and it's not in Times New Roman. I'm like, who wrote this nonsense?
The new printing at TNT isn't.
Oh, I know it's not, and I that is one thing I will quote unquote complain about the addition of Sean Robertson and his approach to it. The new TMNT looks gorgeous. I have no doubt that it's laid out better or probably indexed better, whatever. But it also doesn't scream this is a Palladium book. And
there's something to be said for consistency, even if your consistency is inconsistent. Like the poor, I don't want to keep saying poor, but we'll say the disjointed layout sometimes of the rules. There we go. The challenging layout of and to be fair, it's just the rules sections. You do get used to it. Maybe there is some Stockholm syndrome in there, but if it is done too well, you're going to be looking. I guarantee you, the first time I read through TMNT, I'm like, where is this? Come on! There's got to be something missing. There's got to be something out of place over here that was supposed to be here, because you're just so used to it.
Someone's giving an echo. I don't know who that is, but apparently Walter MC is picking up an echo.
I'm not hearing an echo.
I'm not hearing an echo either.
Hello.
Do you have multiple channels open at the same time, Walter? Maybe you should mute all but one. I don't know.
I was gonna say, yeah, he's got one comment or two comments in here that are member comments. One that's a regular comment, and one that's a linked comment, probably off of my. I mean, because I know he said one in mine. So yeah,
he's in
Walter,
all 4 channels when there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 channels. You're missing one, sir. You're missing a channel. Anyway, okay, so let's keep it moving forward.
By the way, very quickly, someone made a comment about bad editing. I'm not gonna name the company, but Palladium ain't got nothing on this other company when it comes to
God, no, please go ahead, Malachi.
I was gonna say I know the company,
dude. Okay, if you're a FASA fan from the old days, okay, no, I'm just saying. Just let me put something in perspective for you. As a FASA Star Trek fan, there was a proofreader in all of their books named Donna Ippolito, and every book we got, we'd be like, "Why is Donna getting money? How does Donna have a job?" Like, it was insane, you know. Okay, but all right. So this is the big one. This is the we had the 800-pound gorilla. Now we're going to go to the 900-pound gorilla. Palladium Fantasy 1E, Palladium Fantasy 2E. I know that is a massive break point for a lot of fans because there are the Palladium fans who do not care for the Rift stuff. They don't want the MDC. They don't want the characters having SDC, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And there are the people who think grow up and just join the Megaverse and enjoy it all because it all becomes compatible and your games can only get better when you can pull stuff from different places and make them all work together. First question, do you have a preference, Brian?
This is going to be an easy one because I've never played either. Okay. My preference would be for second edition because of its compatibility and interoperability with the other games.
Okay. Malachi, I know you have actually played a lot of both, and you have a wall of Palladium books about to fall on your head behind you.
That's all blurred out.
Yeah.
But no, I think I would actually prefer a second as well, partially because of how easy it is to draw from other game lines into it. Not just that, but I mean, I don't want to have to fuss with sitting down converting stuff from second edition if it's already been converted. Like the Insoft Jungle was just re-released. All those OCCs are all converted. That saves me a bunch of work.
Okay. Cody?
So I've only started looking at first edition today. So I read through second edition again last night. I read through it again this afternoon. And then I read through first edition. And I've never looked at first edition. I actually quite like the look of it, to be honest. The things I liked about first edition, I kind of liked how it's a little bit like, first off, the layout is really good in first edition. I think it's like one of the best laid out Palladium books I've seen. I'm like, holy shit, this is actually, it's very easy to follow along with. So I can say that about it. It's one of the only Palladium books that's like, it's very well organized and laid out from what I could see. I like how stripped down it is. Which is kind of weird because I go both ways on this. I like really complex games, but I also really appreciate games that are elegant and streamlined. And first edition seems a little bit more elegant and streamlined. But it still has all the stuff you have in second edition to an extent. Like you still have most of those classes and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I like the spell system in first edition. I don't know if I like it more than what's in second edition. It's essentially spell points.
Yeah.
But it's a nice, elegant spell system. But yeah, I could understand wanting to play second edition over first edition, just like everybody said, the compatibility with all the multiverse of stuff that's out there now.
Megaverse, sir. Megaverse.
Yeah, right. Which
use the proper branding, sir.
I mean, to be honest, as a GM,
Sean might be watching.
To be honest, as a GM, I'm gonna be bullshitting all those numbers anyway, so I'm not too concerned about that if I was running it. But I understand if you want to pull some resources from Rifts, or you want to have the Palladium characters jump into Rifts or Ninja Turtles or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That would be really easy to port over, but. First edition looks pretty cool, actually. I would like to just play it just to see, how it plays out. It looks really cool. Also, I really like the art a lot better.
Yeah, there's something to be said for that. That's fair.
Yeah,
okay.
It was really, really draw me in.
I've never seen second edition, and I'm going from memory of first edition, and it's been quite a little while. If I could get my hands on a copy of first edition again, I definitely would. But so I don't know the difference, and I can't speak to it, except that I assume in second edition there's a Kevin Simbeta drawing of a cybernetic arm with Wolverine claws. Beyond that, though, I don't know the difference. So.
Fair. All right, Max.
I only have experience playing second edition, so I lean towards that. I like conceptually the ideas of first edition from the couple people that tell me a lot about it. I like the lower bonus pluses and minuses. I know somebody was saying in chat earlier that they don't get bonuses until 16 or higher. Yeah, good. Like stop worrying about bonuses and start playing characters. So that doesn't bother me at all. I kind of like the concept of keeping it lower, making armor a little more useful. Because if you're wearing armor with an armor rating of 8 and you've already got a bonus of +5, does that really matter? But again, my experiences with second edition, I could go either way. But if I had to pick one to play, I would say 2E simply because I know it better, and it's the current edition. It's the one that's supported the most and on into the future. But I wouldn't be adverse to trying first edition at all.
There you go. Cody, I look forward to the first edition game you're going to run because I have decided we're doing second edition for the game that we're playing, just because I eventually plan to have you fight Splurgoth and, Atlantean slavers that show up in Hyazia. Why not? That's awesome shit. You know what I mean? Like that. Yeah. That's the kind of stuff I want to do. Is I want to have the fantasy game and then have the doorway to Gonzo if I need it, but very cherry picked Gonzo as opposed to Rifts where it's just like everything. Good luck.
I agree with it.
But at the end of the day, I would love to try first edition, but I would like to play it more than run it. You know what I mean? Like if I'm making the investment to learn the system, I want to learn the system. That's once I'm done learning it, I can pick up any other Rifts book and get up to speed as fast as possible without having to start doing conversions in my head. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's just a me thing. But at the end of the day, who here feels bold enough? Because Dale asked earlier, what is the difference between 1E and 2E? Who feels bold enough to explain that on the panel here? Yeah, it's a pretty big, tall order, right? I mean, we got people in the chat who'll be like,
I can help.
I could, I've only skimmed over first edition, second edition. Now, I've never played either, to be honest. Like, I've played a lot of Palladium games, but I've read this book a lot because it's a game like I've always wanted to play and never could talk anybody into playing.
Yeah.
So I do know second edition pretty well because I've read it for the past 25 years and never got to, play it. But, so for the differences I saw on first edition, first off, of course, no SDC. Second off, a lot of the classes don't have as many special abilities and powers that they do in second edition. Now they still do, but some of the classes don't have as many, or they, whatever. They added some in second edition. Of course, the spell system is different. In first edition, you have spell slots. Which is pretty much spell points. Like you get a certain amount of spell levels to cast per day. In second edition, you have PPE, just like in all the other Palladium games. No SDC in first edition, from what I saw. The skill system is not, when you're leveling up skills, it's not as consistent as it is in modern Palladium. Like you actually have to look at the list of skills, and the percentage you go up by is not as consistent as it is in second edition Palladium. Like where in second edition Palladium, it's pretty much a consistent thing for every level. It's not consistent in first edition from what I saw. They actually have level up charts for every skill for the most part. Other than that, I didn't see any other big differences.
Less attacks. Fewer attacks is a big one.
Fewer attacks, for sure. A lot fewer attacks. Yeah. Yeah, you're absolutely right. A lot fewer attacks. I did notice that.
Quick question. Who owns Rigor Mortis? Whose chat is he here on?
That was mine.
Is he serious or is he just being funny?
I don't know. I didn't have subscriber chat on, so it is now.
Okay, because I don't know who this guy is, but you know what? There's a lot of married people with kids on this panel right now.
Right.
Maybe you can shut the fuck up and stop being a cock.
And
That's why I'm the Dominar. He's the jester. The Shadow's over there who doesn't talk much. The Disruptor beneath me who likes to just throw shit into the wind and see what happens. The Professor's beside him who explains stuff to us. And the Scald who sings us the tales of it all is at the very bottom. But what we don't need is the shithead. So have a good night, sir. Okay, now that off to the side. He's going to go play fantasy football and, maybe, I don't know, go to a frat party. But let's keep going. Malachi, anything you'd like to... You have a rat?
Yeah. You have a pet rat at the house.
I had one in high school. Do you have anything you'd like to add to what Cody just said?
There are differences with the like the hand-to-hand. Like traditionally, it's basic, expert, martial artist, and assassin. Now 1E does have that different. I have noticed that.
Which is?
Man, he's gonna make my book out.
Somebody wrote that hand-to-hand combat was OCC based.
There is some that are like the Paladin has his own hand-to-hand.
Yeah, so Violence Solves Everything, who is the person that to me is really knowledgeable about first edition. One of the things that he stresses is that men of arm OCC, so fighters, are actually viable in first edition, where in second edition there's no point in playing one because anybody can get the same weapon proficiencies as the fighters, yada yada. I didn't notice that when I played, so I played a ranger for quite a long time, but I also had a rune weapon that was slowly making me a naughty person.
Go ahead, Max. I'm sorry.
No. I was just anecdotally.
Well, one thing I did notice when it came to wizards can take additional weapon proficiency skills. Yeah, but at the cost of learning things that other classes cannot learn. And I think if you're going to play a wizard and you're going to and let's say nobody else can do any medicine, can't access medicine skills but you, and you're going to sacrifice doing that to take more weapons, it's just stupid.
Well, I think Violence Solves Everything on the Giga chat there. What's it called, Max? The one you sent us all the link for?
The Gilded server, yeah.
He made a list of all the articles from Rifter 1 to 73, and I remember seeing one that said something about adding specific skills for the mental OCCs to give them more stuff to sort of look at versus taking combat skills. And I thought that was a pretty good idea. I think instead of limiting them what they can do with combat, expand what they can do with their minds, so that way it behooves them to go down those roads as opposed to try and make the fencing fighter magic user guy.
That was another thing I'm not sure about. Physical skills. Does 1E have physical skills like 2E does, where you can actually...
It doesn't have the wrestling, or it doesn't have the weightlifting. I know it doesn't have that. And there's a couple of other things it's missing. And I think only the martial OCCs get those kinds of things. So that way you don't have... I remember Violence saying something about that, where basically the mental guys don't get all those combat skills as options as well.
Yeah, and then they are limited on what they can take. Like, a wizard can only take, like, maybe 3 of the physical skills that bump up attributes, if that.
Hey, Max, any chance you can just silence Rigger? Because he's just doubling down and diving in and just taking everybody to task, and it's not really productive to this.
Okay, for the record, I will do this because you're the primary streamer, but I just want everybody to know that normally I don't ban or block.
I'm not asking to ban. I'm just
but because it's your stream, I will.
Oh no, it's okay. You know what? I'm actually going to take that back. You do what you want on your thing. We're just going to ignore him, and that'll just be the way we go. You do you. We're not going to. Don't ban him. Don't take him out. Just he wants to be a dick. Let him be a dick, and everyone just ignore him and don't even engage, guys. Let it go. We move on. There's always that idiot shouting in the wind.
Well, real quick, I do want to address one point in his last comment where he says you're all adults who should realize that things change. But you know what? That's the whole point to these panel discussions. We know things change. And so we're talking, but we are talking about things that we like, things that we don't like. How have things evolved? To me, it helps make a better understanding of not only where gaming was, but where it is now. Do you want to bring some of those old rules back? So, yeah.
Also, dude, it's additions with an E.
Yeah.
Wow. Awesome. Anyway, so we're just going to ignore him. Don't engage with him. He's just
Okay.
he needs attention that his mommy and daddy didn't give him, and we're going to move on. Okay, and that's just the way it is. Okay, so there's a lot of differences between the two, clearly, but there's also 90% similarity between the two as well. I mean, I don't think a 1E player would have a hard time switching gears into a 2E game once they knew what the differences were, right? Or am I crazy on that?
No. They're similar enough. Like where if you went from first edition to second edition, it would not be confusing at all. There would just be subtle little things like, oh, that's a little different. Okay,
Yeah.
So it's not a drastic change at all.
By the way, if you're looking at the Nerds Nerd bingo card, yes, I've brushed my beard, adjusted my eyebrows, and used the dad voice tonight. So that's fun. You're getting your little checks tonight. That's for sure. Yes, exactly, Brian. All caps. That's how you make sure your point gets across, by screaming at people. Okay, let's talk OCCs. Because I was looking through the Palladium book last night and this morning, and I was looking for the racial stuff, and I was horrified personally to find that they're all just in the monster section. I'm like, well, that's annoying. But Rift has racial character classes, right? RCCs as well.
Yeah.
The Palladium Fantasy doesn't have RCCs.
No, it's separate.
Yes.
Malachi? Yes? Malachi says yes. Okay.
Yeah. Yes, and
Not in the core book.
Uh-huh.
Old Ones has Minotaur racial character classes.
That's not the core book. That's the old ones.
Yeah.
That's a different book. I'm talking this core book. I didn't get into all the expanded books.
Okay.
I think it makes it easier, more consistent, though.
Yeah. What do you mean?
Just to have OCCs, not worrying about the difference between RCCs and OCCs. Not that. So the big confusion with there that I've run into is that people don't understand that when you're an RCC, that's like race as class back in the day. That isn't like I'm a Minotaur mage. No, you're a Minotaur.
Look who chose violence. Look who chose violence this morning.
And it wasn't violence solves everything. No.
Okay, so there are RCCs, but they're in the splat books, not in the core book. That's what we're coming to. Now, is that's a 2E thing, not a 1E thing, or is it also in the 1E books as well?
There are no racial character classes in the 1E book.
So core it's definitely a 2E thing.
I believe so.
Okay. Yeah, 1E does have an index, 2E doesn't.
Do races in the first, it's been a long time, kids. Do races in the first edition of the game provide any modifiers or benefits or special abilities of any kind?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and there's some races, I'm assuming, if I remember correctly, there are some races that are, let's call them mild in terms of their special abilities, and you could have a race in an OCC. But I'm assuming the RCCs are the races that just by nature of what they are, you're playing races class because you're a dragon, or may God have mercy, I don't even know what it is in Palladium, but like in Rifts, where you're playing something that inherent in just what you are, you've got all your special abilities and toys and everything else. I'm assuming that's the same in Palladium.
Generally, yes. One of the things, so I'm being very pedantic here as I say this, that I know, weird, huh? Is I'm very adamant that in Palladium, I don't care if you're human or anything else, you roll exactly the dice that you're supposed to do for the attributes. And there's a couple of reasons for that. People like to do this whole 4d6, re-roll ones or whatever, but then you're really, really, really hurting the other races in the game, because other races will have a 2d6 roll, or Ogre might have a 4 or 5d6 roll, but only humans get the bonus of 16 to 18. So if you roll 3d6, get a 16 to 18, you get to add another d6 onto it. Only humans get that. Well, I probably shouldn't say that. Only 3d6 rolls get that. So if you're changing the rolls,
I think that's true, Max.
Only the 3d6 rolls get that.
If roll a 12.
Okay. There's a 12 in there also. Okay, but if you're rolling 46 and you roll an 18, you don't get another d6 on it.
That's
Take care, Carver. Thanks for hanging out, and always love your comments, even if they are encyclopedic in nature. So it's really fun to read. Okay, so and that's one thing I did like about the making the characters, and I remember that from Robotech, was when you rolled high, you got to roll another d6 to see if you got higher, and you always rolled a 1 and went, well, that was fucking pointless,
But 17, great.
Great, yay, but I always find that kind of fun, right? But okay, so the RCC question that Len was asking, though, or the racial thing is, like, take the elves for example. From what I saw, they're not like every other fantasy game out there. Elves are death on wheels because they all buy into that fucking elf propaganda Tolkien shit written by tricksy hobbitses, where elves are the greatest thing in the universe. And in Palladium, hey, they're good, but they're not like ass handers from the great beyond. Tell me, what do your elf eyes see? And like it's just another race in the game. I think
in my town we just call them eyes, dude. But
Nice ears.
What does your human tongue taste there, Aragorn? Like, well, tell me what your dwarf ears hear. Like, no. But the point is that I've noticed in the core book, and again, I can only speak to the core book from what I read of the PC, the player races. Nobody's really over the top powerful compared to the other. They all have a little bit of special ability or something that they get. But I don't feel like the humans got done dirty like they do in every other game, where it's always like, you're a human, pick something. You get something, you're better at this other thing, and you get a chance to re-roll things because you're a human, and you get more skills because you're a human. It's like, really, the shortest lived race gets the most skills? Like, what? That makes no sense. But I think they do a really good job of just having them all sort of have a flavor, a thing, and not overshadow each other. Am I wrong or right for the Palladium heads here?
I think you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Yay, I understood what I read.
And Max is right too. Like that's one thing you don't want to do in Palladium is change the dice rolling, because that's an integral part of the racial of the races, right? So if you change that, it's not going to work out. You're really, really shafting the characters that are playing elves and dwarves and whatnot.
The other aspect of that is, unless second edition added this in, and I don't believe that it did, as far as I know, only Rift's Ultimate Edition did this, there are no penalties for having low attributes. So if you have anywhere between a 3 and a 15, it just means +0, move on with your life. You don't have to cry about it.
Yeah, the low attributes are just for role-playing the character.
And maybe OCCs. You might have an OCC
requirements.
Minimum.
Yep. And I sat down the one night and I made a TMNT character. I did 3D or 4D6 drop the lowest. No. Palladium as a system will work better if you do 3D6 for humans and don't add a die and drop it.
Yeah.
Drop the lowest. Stick with the 3D6.
Bet you there'll be a lot less crying about, the bonuses are too high in this game. Well, if everybody's, it's just funny. All 8 of your attributes are 16, 17, 18. How did that happen?
Well,
hang on. But like, okay, so Vaughn says low ME gives low ISP for psionic characters. Well, if you rolled your stats and you have a low ME, maybe you shouldn't play a psionic character.
Yeah.
Unless you want to make that the theme of your character, which is, I'm like, the world's worst psychic. I mean, like,
now, do you allow placing them how you want? So I do. I allow placing how you want, so you can make.
Discord is not muted, and it's annoying, Mr. Boivin. I don't know. It's not mine. Mine's always muted.
Yeah, mine's always muted as well. But I forgot what I was saying.
You allow
placing of stats wherever you want.
Yeah, I allow placing before taking skills and so forth. I allow placing stats where they want, because if you want a fighter type, I have no problem with you putting your highest attributes in physical endurance, physical strength. I don't have a problem with that.
I have no problem with that as well. I think that's one of the things we used to do it by default in D&D. We never played down the line, like even starting in 85, 84, 85. We just put them where you wanted, because I want to be a ranger. Okay, well, do you have the stats for a ranger? Good luck. There you go. Yeah. So I can see the same thing working in Palladium. I don't see it being an issue.
Well,
Brian, you want to jump in?
One thing also that hasn't been brought up about, or maybe I just got distracted because squirrels and I didn't notice it. But another thing to point out about Palladium stats, like everybody kind of does the I want to do 46 and drop them because you want bonuses, and you want to avoid the negatives. Like in D&D, you have negatives for having low stats, but until Rift's Ultimate Edition, Palladium hadn't even done anything as far as low stats. If you had a 5, well, okay, you had a 5, but it wasn't the only real advantage to the higher stats is that you did get those bonuses. So you could have a low score and not have a problem.
And as much as I understand the irony of the next statement I'm going to make just on the verbal English component of it, Violence solves everything has a point.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying that I think violence solves everything. I'm saying his name is that. But he's right, and so I retract what I said about being able to put them where you want. Fuck you, roll them, and take your.
I'm always thinking humans because that's what I play, and I'm thinking the 3d6 because I do more TMNT after the bomb than any other game. But yes,
If it's
my campaign will have no humans in it, so yes.
Well, but are you go? Well, hold on, but okay, let's change it then. Instead of human, it's 3d6 down the line. If it's 3d6 down the line, that's fine. But it's when you have the alternate, I'm an ogre, so I roll 5d6 for my physical strength.
Yeah.
Okay, well
that has to stay your strength.
Yeah, exactly.
What I used to do back in the day, what we used to do is we would roll like 2 or 3 sets, and you pick which one you want. Like that's the way we used to do it. And again, like attributes don't really. Besides, like exceptional attributes don't affect you as much in Palladium as they do in other games. So,
Chill Gamer, basically, we have 5 people streaming this with 5 people chatting in the various chats. So we can see all the chats here in StreamYard, but you only see the chats of the channel you're in. Sorry. I'm doing my best to punch up the ones that are counting, but I get a little into the weeds too, and they just zip by. But that's okay. So we have Len. Len is like on the spectrum when it comes to reading comments because he'll be like, there was a comment 5 minutes ago we should go back to, that's why he's the perfect.
That's a good YouTuber right there.
I sound sexier when you say it, but yeah.
And he doesn't have a channel, Max.
You should.
He joins us.
By the way, there was a moment earlier when Cody said, I agree with Max on the blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, went scrolling back through the chat to see who was named Max or if it was Blevan. I'm like, oh, fuck, no, Max. Oh.
Someone, I think it was Dale, made a comment jokingly, which is where there's no difference between 8 strength and 15 strength. And I'm wondering, there's no modifiers, but is there some sort of difference between an 8 and a 15 apart from game modifiers? I was noticing in the chat, funny enough, you mentioned it, Bear, that some people were mentioning that different abilities are applied for like they're used to determine your hit points or your PSP or some other, your speed, but I'm just wondering, like, if you have an intelligence of 9 and intelligence of 16, is there no mechanical difference?
When it comes to IQ, you multiply your number by 10. That's your character's actual IQ.
But what does that mean mechanically?
Not really that much with intelligence, but strength, it affects how much you can lift, how much you can carry, how much you can drag.
That's right. I remember that now.
Well, there's one other, and I do not know where this rule is written. I know I saw it when we were doing all of our reviews, but I forget which one it is. So it may not be in Palladium Fantasy, but if you don't have a skill, the base percentage of the skill is your whatever relevant attribute is. I think it's intelligent. Yeah, I think it's intelligent across the board for Palladium. So let's say you have intelligence at 9, you have an 18% chance, because I think it's times 2 if I remember correctly. So you have an 18% chance to perform a skill that you're not trained in. But I forget where I read that one.
And of course, you get upfront bonuses for exceptional abilities.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're in that, I think Palladium has something that intuitively it catches you when you first see it, especially if you come from D&D, which is the fairly large range of attributes that don't have attendant bonuses.
Yep.
There's no right or wrong. It's just I remember even when I was a teen, when I first read you roll an extra D6 and you add it if you roll high enough. In my mind, the math says, okay, this isn't a 3 to 18 game. This is a 3 to 24 game or whatnot. And I have to sort of mentally compress those numbers. I apologize. I hit my mic. It's got to happen at least once per stream.
Hell yeah.
I mean, you've got to sort of mentally compress that range. Anyway.
Well, again, the attributes don't really come into play after you create your character.
Right.
For the most part, like everything, all that really is just added up when you're creating a character, and everything else is based on your skills.
Right. And
so,
modern games do that too. Savage Worlds, for most purposes, it's based on your skills.
I have to
it
share
has nothing
something.
to do with your. Once you get your skills, your abilities are really just a starting point for those. So
Michael Chad decided to share an image with me where he's been filling out the
bingo sheet. Where's the bingo sheet?
Oh, it was on the Christmas stream. And I threw it up in somewhere on the Discord. I can't remember where I put it in the Discord. But
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Well,
you nerd's nerd.
You can just die. That's what you can do. You gotta have you die.
But also another thing with stats, I did misspeak a little bit when I say that there weren't there weren't necessarily penalties, because there are a lot of derived values from your stats. You can carry based on this strength or.
Yeah, most people just look for the modifiers. Where's my to strike modifier? Yeah. Where's my damage modifier? You're absolutely right about the especially when somebody said like ISP and PPE and so forth. Yes, and strength, speed. I mean, that's another one. I don't know if first edition does. Actually, I don't know if either edition does it, but I know like the old TMNT, speed actually figured into your dodge roll.
Yes. Also, like it's worth noting that like even Kevin says in these books, like stats don't matter that much. He's like, if you just want to, he's like, I've had, in games, he literally gives an example in second edition, the second edition core book, where he's just like, sometimes I just let the players pick whatever stats they want. Stuff like that.
Again. Long shot, I love your triad of priorities. Feed the wife and son, buy more Palladium books. That's awesome. Take care. Oh my goodness. I will say this. One of the things I've been enjoying about talking about Palladium this week has been the overall general positive attitude and high energy we get from the chat on that. So keep it up. I mean, if you want to be a baby and yell at people and tell them they're nerds and stupid, this isn't the community for you, and you'll very quickly be ostracized. But if you want to participate and you want to talk and you want to discuss and even crack jokes, trust me, pay attention to Nerds, Nerd, and Dale. Oh boy. You come to the right house, subscribe to all these people. Go just buy Lens products off of drive-through. What's it? Lakeside Games. I used to be a wholly owned subsidiary of them, but then I got my freedom. But Palladium is thirsty for content, and that's something I'm supposed to have Sean, and if we can schedule probably with Kevin on at some point in the future to have a one-on-one or a one-on-two with them. And that's something I'm going to talk about a lot, is what about the idea of people who want to publish material for you, who people want to help, because I think Palladium is ultimately...
We've asked that.
Yeah, they're smart enough to know having third-party publishing only benefits them in the long run. You know what I mean? Like, can
I give you the answer that we got?
I'm a very challenging person, as Brian referred to me in his little video today. I'm very good at convincing people of things. Okay. So go ahead. What was the answer you got?
The answer, and I'm paraphrasing, this is my take on the answer, is, well, number one, the official answer is if you want to write third-party content, write for the Rifter. And two, Kevin is very protective of his IP, and you have to meet certain standards. Now, whether you like those standards or don't like those standards, you've got to meet those standards in order to write for him. He's denied a lot of manuscripts, and he's very open about that. And it's not because he's a jerk or he hates the people, but he has a very specific vision of what he wants for the game, and that's the way it's going to be. So there's no OGL that's going to happen for...
No. But if they're willing to, like, let's say, I'll take myself, for example. I've been working on this High Asia campaign for a few years, and it's never gotten off the ground properly because D&D was never the right system for it. But the more I've been looking at Palladium Fantasy 2E, because you get the riff stuff and you get the more woo-woo gonzo stuff, it becomes much more viable as a world, because that stuff's all kind of there for me now, and I can sort of bring it together and make my own stuff and have a good time. So I absolutely want to start writing proposed articles. Like, you remember the old Ed Greenwood stuff? Or the Voyage of the Princess arc type stuff. Well, I want to start doing that for my world and submitting them as Rifter articles, about this character exploring this strange new world, and then having the game.
If you get it submitted to the Rifter, you should be fine.
Yeah, exactly. So if they're thirsty for stuff, get it out to the Rifter. If you got stuff you want to do, pop it down. They'll say yes or no, and I'm guaranteed from what I saw Sean and Kevin saying when we were all on Max's channel, they will coach you if it's not right. They will come back and say, hey, this doesn't fit our standards, but here's why it doesn't fit our standards. And if you don't have a baby ego, you can then go, I clearly need to edit this material to match the stuff I'm trying to sell it to, as opposed to, my stuff's perfect and you're in butthole and your face is stupid, because that's what it seems a lot of people in our hobby like to do sometimes. Also, really quick, Crafty, is Victor here? I didn't see Victor Gorchev in the chat, so I saw you putting an at Victor. Is Victor here? Victor, if you're here, I'm sorry I missed you. And if you're not here, now, Crafty, get more friends. But that's a whole other. That's a Crafty joke. I'm not being mean to Crafty. Trust me, he'll tell you where to hide the porn. So continuing along, if you're using Palladium Fantasy, how would you feel it works for a generic or your fantasy world, as opposed to maybe a OCC coming soon? I think it's an RCC, sir. But anyway, how would you feel about using Palladium for your own game, or say Greyhawk with Palladium, or Forgotten Realms with Palladium, or Eberron with Palladium, or whatever the case may be? Do you feel Palladium Fantasy must be locked into the Palladium Fantasy world, or do you feel it could be used for almost anything? Look at that. They're all thinking. They're all like,
Well, who do you want to start?
Anyone. Listen, This is chaos theory. So when we do these questions, right? Malachi, finger up. Go ahead, Malachi.
It's the way the races are designed. It's baked into the setting. Same with the classes. It will take a lot of work to change the flavor, change any rules over to another setting, compared to a game like D&D.
You think so? Okay.
Yeah.
I partially just.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Max.
Well, I partially disagree with that because I've been in 2 homebrew games that now he's right in one aspect. If you want to change the races, make them something different, yes, he's absolutely right.
Write your own.
Right, exactly. You would have to write your own, and you have to update it. If you're just talking like, I don't want to play on the Palladium Fantasy world, I want to play on my own world, like you were talking that you created, or I want to put them on Corinne or something, from Dragonlance.
Sure.
You could easily do that. There's no issues with that, as long as you're willing to understand why the races are the way they are. There's a reason that there are not a lot of magic weapons running around, because it pretty much destroyed the world. So if you're willing to incorporate that stuff and understand magic works the way magic works with PPE, blah blah blah, you can run it wherever you want, however you want, some ambiguous land. It's when it comes to changes, then I agree with Malachi completely. If you start trying to make changes, like I want my elves to be different, I want my dwarves to be different. Yeah. Well, enjoy the write-up.
Yeah, but I mean, at the end of the day, a write-up's not hard to do, really. I mean, you just got to sit down and do it. I mean, that's ultimately what it's going to be. Look at what was done before, find what you want to change or what you want to do to make it your own, and go ahead and write that up.
And it's pretty flexible for that.
Yeah, and I think it's very flexible in that I don't think there's a great balance in everything in Palladium. I don't think there's some sort of point system. No, it's just, this is what we think it should be, and it might be highly unbalanced when you get to the table. But if you're an old school enough player, that's kind of the way that games work. You know what I mean? Let's be honest.
Yeah, a lot of times the balancing is actually in the gameplay.
It's with the players.
Yeah. Well, to use Rifts as an example, how do you balance the glitter boy? You get him out of his armor.
How do you balance a glitter boy? You say no. You can't play a glitter boy.
Well, glitter boys are easy, but yeah, no is absolutely, that's an answer that every game. I know Heathen Dog, for when it comes to Palladium Fantasy, he doesn't allow people to play witches or elementalists because, and Diabolists have to be NPCs, because he believes that witches and elementalists are a time bomb waiting to happen, and it's just going to be detrimental to the group. We talked to Kevin about that. I have a specific video on that, and Kevin's like, no, that's what's fun. Obviously, if it's not for your game, don't put it in your game, but those are role-playing, that's setting you up for good role-playing experiences.
I agree with that, by the way. That statement is one I actually agree with overall in most gaming. I think this Tetsubo used to say it all the time on his channel, right? He'd say, I don't bow deeply to the altar of balance. And I agree with that. I don't think balance fucking matters at the end of the day, because I've seen the player playing the weakest character class become the star of the campaign because of the way they played their character, versus the guy who had the god level power character who couldn't think 3 steps ahead of himself. You know what I mean? He was the guy in BattleTech who just wanted to use his PPC every round. Every attack was PPC. Hi, Kim. PPC. You know, so it's like it's going to be player style at that point in time, and I don't think I think there's a real disservice being done in modern game design of trying to regulate your table for you through the game rules. And as Brian knows from having conversations with me when I was designing Bastard Sword and all that, I will never tell you how to run your table in a game I designed. That's your table. You decide what works for you. You decide what you're going to ban, what you're going to improve, what you're going to change. That's the goal of it all. Here's the game. You do something with it. Yeah, but players could then take this and this together, and then they would be able to get good. That player deserves he was smart enough to figure that out. Good for him.
Do what I do and say. I say no. You're not taking boxing, wrestling, and boxing, acrobatics, and gymnastics on the same character unless it makes sense. You roll up that ninja character, I get it, but you are not going to be the wizard spending your entire day with your nerdy glasses on, going, you got your physical endurance of like 4 because you can't. You're sick all the time, and you're not going to have boxing, gymnastics, and acrobatics. I just will not allow you to take it.
Malachi made a nerd joke. I don't know if everybody saw it, but I'm going to pump it up.
I can wrestle.
This is actually the nerdiest fucking deep cut riffs joke I've ever heard in my life. Balance a bit, boy. Can they fire only one of their pythons, or does it have to be both? If the python's on fire, they're off balance. All right, Malachi, you can leave anytime you like.
But like, speaking to balance, like I do think that does come down to the game master. Like, unfortunately the games nowadays seem to be trying to balance everything especially as far as combat goes. Oh, yeah. Well, I'm sorry, but if you're a rogue, you're not necessarily going to be doing that same kind of damage in combat that your paladin is. Now, can you get in? Can you set up advantages, things like that? Sure. But it's not, you're not supposed to be that damage dealer. So I think what should be more balanced isn't the characters, but how the GM treats the players.
We like the word viability. If your character just needs to be viable. Yeah. And I have never run into a Palladium game other than a bad game master where a character of any class, any race wasn't viable.
Yeah, no, right, exactly. And so that's what I'm saying. I think the balance needs to be not in the characters, but in the game master. Make sure that he's giving the players that time to shine.
Yes.
And don't worry about, are they taking out the orc or doing whatever, but just let them do something.
Amen, brother.
Their player and their class.
Dude, you are hitting it right on the goddamn head there. That is exactly what it is. I swear to God, I'm going to make a fucking role-playing game. Exactly. Len, you and me, we got to get together and write a game together called Koyaanisqatsi Adventures, where it's all everything is so fucking out of Koyaanisqatsi. Hopi word means life out of balance. So basically, we're just going to make a game called Koyaanisqatsi Fantasy Adventures, where there's no fucking balance at all. But my character can do 20 dice. My character can do 1. Good. Let's see how you play. Let's have a good time and see what the fuck happens. Also, quick thing, the rogue comment, that's a fucking 3E thing where I want thieves, thank you, because thieves weren't good at fighting, and that was the point. You know what I mean? Now it's like the rogue ruins the game in 5e. Well, all right, you've done your turn. It's the rogue's turn. Let's watch what happens and spend 15 minutes watching him go, for my action, I'm going to do this. And then as my reaction, I'm going to do that. But I also have a bonus action that allows me to do this thing. And also because of this feat I have, when you do that, I get to do this 5 thing. Plus I'm going to move and hide. Fuck off.
It's funny you say that, Bear, because Palladium has the actions, like you get 4, 5, 6 actions per round. Yet because of the action reaction system, it doesn't play out. I don't sit at a table, at least I don't know anybody that sits at a table and says, so for my first action, I'm going to do this. And then for my second action, I'll pause for the super chat if you want me to.
Salanche, the Megaverse is not balanced. It falls on the GM to properly adjudicate. Thank you for the super chat. I'll take a drink in your honor, and I agree.
And then, but because you're just doing things.
You were going to take a drink.
He's trying to suck out that. but ultimately, you're not counting your actions with regard to 1 action, 2 action, reaction, go. You're talking like, I'm doing this, and then you're waiting for the initiative to come back around. Oh, now I need to react, so I'm going to parry, and then I'm going to do my attack action. at least when I play, we don't even mention the word action. We just know what we're doing. I'm running 10 yards forward and I'm going to shoot him twice. Da, da, da. Okay, well, that's a burst fire with your movement. Go ahead and roll, whatever.
Remember our earlier wow, whiskey tongue. Remember our earlier conversation, Brian, about everybody's somewhere on the spectrum?
Mm-hmm.
We just found where Sheldon is on the spectrum. Okay, well, that's a burst fire. That's 5 and a 4 and a 7 and a 5, and then you roll 3.
No, that's how Pathfinder. That's how Pathfinder players play.
I know. I've played Pathfinder. How does initiative work in Palladium Fantasy?
You roll D20.
D20 plus your.
You get an initiative bonus, maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah.
That's one of the most important bonuses to try to get. If you get in a +1 or +2 initiative bonus, you could have a game changer right there.
Okay.
Even on a D20.
There's nothing in your stats that gives you an initiative bonus.
No, your speed bonus doesn't come into your initiative or something? No?
Nope. This means the higher the number, the faster you can run. That's all.
That's it. That's all. Okay.
Yep.
Physical prowess? No?
Nope.
Bonus to hit, and that includes melee weapons.
Okay.
It usually comes with your hand to hand.
Hand to hand gives you the bonus.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's right. Okay, so now we've rolled initiative. How do we determine how many actions you can do if you have 5 actions, let's say?
Class, combat.
Do you take them all at once, or do you stagger
there
it out?
There
are
different schools of thought on this, and Heathen Dog and I disagree on this.
Present yours, please.
So the way I do it is I say you take an action, and now I'm going to intentionally use a power punch. So that takes up 2 actions. For me, in my games, you're using 2 actions, but as soon as we go around the initiative, so let's say, Bear, you do the power punch. You roll your attack, do your power punch. We're going to skip all the other reactionary stuff. Then it's Brian's turn, then it's Malachi's turn, then it's GM Cody's turn, then it's Len's turn. When it comes back to you, I don't skip you. Just know that you've used up 2 actions so far.
Because the power punch costs 2 actions.
Yes, power punch costs 2. So other people, like Heathen Dog, he'll skip you for that because he says basically you're in a recovery phase. Now you can still dodge, you can still parry, but you can't do your next action because that took 2 actions for you to do. I think he pictures it like the superhero where you're down on your one knee, like power punch, whatever. But then there are other people, and this is rare, but I've actually seen this. Take all of your actions now that you want to take. So let's say you have 5 actions. You take 3 of them because you want to save 2 for reactions, but that's what you're doing for the round. I do not like that method.
Yeah, I don't like that either.
Oh, I
prefer a much more cinematic.
I think it was one of your interviews with Kevin and Sean where Kevin was straight up saying, okay, so you're taking an action. Okay, now we're going to go over to you. Now we're going to go over to you. Now we're going to go back to you. And it's not even necessarily going in a complete circle. It's kind of bouncing back.
To be initiative order,
so the GM is being a director at that point in time. And point of view.
Kevin very much is a director style.
Cool.
So,
you know what? I don't hate that thought, to be honest. I don't hate that thought. It's one of the things I like. There was an initiative system I saw somewhere. Len, you'll probably know what game this is, where you determined who had first initiative. And then they decided who went next, and then that person decided who went next, and then it traded up. And you'd see players make the cardinal mistake of letting all their PCs go first, and then the villains at the end would be like, "Well, now we get to take all our shit, and since we decide who goes next, we go next again." And then right? So you then make it a strategic.
I think that was Marvel Superhero.
Nope.
Wasn't that?
2D20 does this
I was say, wasn't that Modifius 2D20? Because when we did
but there was before Modifius, there was a game that did it. I can't remember who started. It was a fantasy.
The only other one I could think of would be it's not the the latest edition of Star Wars, because in that one, it's not the Star Wars one.
The Edge of the Empire.
It's not Edge of the Empire. Theirs is different. So
Genesis. That's the name of that system. No, I just wanted to make you talk, Len. No, I'm kidding, of course. I thought you might know. But I remember hearing that and thinking, that's a really good idea. And I tried it at my table, and it worked really well because they learned the hard lesson of don't let all the heroes go first unless they can take out all the bad guys before the bad guys get to go, because the payback's a bitch at that point in time, and it really hurt them.
Well, you'll see new Palladium players make that mistake as well. Oh, I got 5 attacks, and they're going to want to do attacks every time, and and they won't either save up or they won't use those dodges and parries. And
so how does that work? How does the reaction work, Max?
Okay, so I roll to attack you. I roll a d20. I get my 5 or higher, and I beat. Let's just say I beat your armor rating as well. So I got a 13.
Okay.
Well, now you roll to either dodge or parry.
Okay.
And parry's free. I think dodge is an action.
Dodge is an action.
Okay. Then so what?
Parry is free if you have a hand-to-hand combat skill.
Yes.
Okay. So if you have a hand-to-hand combat skill, parry's free, but otherwise it's an action. Okay.
I've honestly never been in a game where the player characters didn't have one, but that is a good point. So what I say, I rolled a 13. We'll just say I rolled a 13. Okay, you need to roll a 13 or better to parry. That includes your modifiers.
That's so fucking simple.
Yes.
That's so fucking simple. So I roll my die, add my mods, and if I get a 13 or better, I parried you or I dodged you.
Yep.
Jesus Christ, that's easy.
Yep. And then there's one final thing. So let's say you didn't parry. You only rolled a 12. Oh, you just missed it. You can do what's called roll with punch fall impact. Mm-hmm. And what will happen now, this is only good for certain weapons, basically blunt weapons, fists, kicks, so forth. But if I go to punch you, you've got that we'll call it that boxer mentality where it's like, oh crap, I'm gonna take some of that force with me. So I would only deal half damage if you made that roll.
Okay. And what is this simultaneous attack VSE is talking about?
That's cheating, and people do it all the time. Malachi probably can explain it better than I can.
I'm not 100% sure.
Simultaneous.
Is this in the rules, or is this a house rule?
It's in the rules. It's one of those things where people try to do simultaneous attacks because then you can't get a dodge or parry.
So why is it a cheating?
It's basically holding your action, and it's using the game mechanics of the game to metagame.
I don't see that as cheating. I just see that as using the rules.
It's one of those rules that becomes a crutch.
Len, I see you sitting forward like you have a thought. Oh, come on, Professor, give us your insight.
I think in this thing here, this is one of the ways. The nature of this game is you can fall prey to lack of system mastery, unless the GM is being extremely kind. I think that's one. This is one situation where the GM has to set their ground rules of how they're going to use this open system, and kind of help players through it. Because obviously, if you're in a real life situation, you're not thinking about taking actions and saving. You're just basically responding to whatever is in front of you. If there's an opening, you take it if it's there, and if it's not, if somebody's coming at you, you do your best to not get hit or take the hit in a way or whatever. So all this happens in a very, very organic way, whereas this is one area where the complexity is the wrong word, but all the elements, the intricacies of the system and how it works could yield some unrealistic outcomes or choices on the part of a player who lacks system mastery.
To be fair, most of those options require an action. So you're using up an action. It's just you're stepping in the way of your initiative in order to make it happen. So you could use up, if Bear's fighting me, I could use an action to try to dodge, and then another action to try to roll punch falls. That's 3 actions. Well, if I've attacked. So I've used up 3 actions before we even come back to my turn again. I may only have 1 action left or be out.
Now, and that's, you mentioned about the sort of round robin nature of the initiatives where everybody does, again, stealing from Shadowrun, everybody does first pass, everybody does second pass, everybody does third pass, etc. And I don't remember that being in the Palladium books that I read. At least, now mind you, that doesn't mean anything because there's a lot I don't remember. But my sense of the game from having read it a long time ago was that you get just X number of actions, and the mode of playing, which you both said you didn't like, of you just choose how many actions you use and you can hold some in reserve. My assumption when I read that as a young tyke was that that's the way you play. But maybe I missed. Is there something in the book about doing it round robin style?
I could have sworn I haven't looked at an actual page through the combat section as I'm writing my own stuff. I'm sure Violence or Malachi or somebody can check that out real quickly. But
if so, it might be in second editions. I mean, almost all the stuff that I've read is first editions of most things, so maybe it wasn't addressed there.
Well, first up, a simultaneous attack, basically you're letting the other person attack and hit you so you can attack and hit them back.
Yes.
So you have to be able to take that hit.
Explain that.
You don't parry, you don't dodge, you do nothing to defend yourself. You take the hit, but you can then immediately attack, and the person that just attacked you cannot defend, parry, dodge, all of
That's actually very fucking cool.
It gets abused though.
Well, of course it gets abused, but it's only getting abused as long as you're alive.
Yeah.
You know, if you get that hit that fucking takes your leg off, well, you know.
Yeah.
I think I'll give you a negative on that.
As for the round robin bit, I really only saw it in any examples in the books. Never actually like stated out in the rules. Like I know the example of combat in the Rift's Ultimate Edition is like that.
Well, and if that's the example that they're giving, then that's probably how they intended to be played.
Yeah.
Now, in my conversations with Kevin and Sean, I can tell you they don't care. I mean, what works best for your table is what they'd say to do. And even though I find that to be a cop-out answer, but no, that's why some of the rules are written that loosely, because if you find that it is better at your table, makes combat work and be the cinematic way that you want it to be, just to say, okay, you've got 5 actions, how many you can use to attack this round? 2. Okay, you're saving the other 3 for parries and dodges and whatnot. Great. And moving on. I can understand that. I just personally, I don't like it. I like to go in the circle, and then ultimately,
you're right. Yeah.
If you've only got 4 actions and this person over here's got 7 actions, you're going to be out of actions before that other person is, and he's going to get final 3 to do whatever he wants.
Yeah, that's fair.
I just want to say, an index works if the page numbers are right.
Actually, so real quick, in the Palladium Fantasy 2nd edition book, so one-on-one combat goes back and so it goes through the whole combat sequence.
You roll initiative.
Well, no. This is like, so you've rolled initiative, but then it's like, okay, player 1 attacks and strikes, then player 2 attacks and strikes, and but then it says one-on-one combat goes back and forth like this for the entire melee round. First one strikes and 1 parries, then the other strikes, and so forth. The melee round ends when each character has used up all of his attacks. In many cases, one combatant will have more attacks than the other. That's okay. When the fighter with the least number of attacks uses them all up, all he can do is parry. Yes, this is fair. Watch a boxing match and you will see the faster boxer will throw more punches than a slower or less experienced opponent. When both combatants have used up their attacks, that melee round is over and the next one begins. Start again by having everybody roll for initiative and repeat as above. So that is straight out of the books, round robin.
Yep.
Don't dump it all at once.
Excellent.
Okay, Crafty, I'm gonna click on this because I think so. The guy Palladium said, "Hey, Mr. Simbada, is there any chance that we can get an updated index in the book?" And he went, "Get the fuck out!" I highly doubt that's how that played out. Come on.
No, I doubt. I don't doubt that the person got kicked out of the booth, but it was probably not just that one question.
Yeah, exactly. I find that very suspect. You know what I mean?
So you're going to get a load of text now from Crafty.
Of course I am, but that's what I do. I get loads of text from Crafty, and then he comes in and tells me about his friend Woods experiences. I don't know where he lives, but man, people are believing weird shit in the woods. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, okay.
GM Noob on my chat had a question. I don't know if it's relevant to this or not.
What is it? Could I ask the group if their feelings on the RCC for fantasy for the source books, such as Land of the Damned? Should there be an RCC limit for fantasy? I have no opinion on this, so I will go to the people who know better. So I'll punch up the question so you can all see it on the screen. Could I ask the group here if they're feeling on the RCC for fantasy for the source books, such as Land of the Damned? Should there be an RCC limit for fantasy?
Bring up his next comment down at the bottom, because that'll clarify a bit.
Max, you're limiting your play just being human. You're a human. Why not mix it up for a fantasy story?
Okay.
Let's just go back to the original one, because that seemed less like a clarification and more of just a shot at Max.
I play humans. I don't understand that, because if I were running Palladium Fantasy, my only limitation is I generally say you're either the good guys or the bad guys. I'm not going to allow an ogre and a troglodyte to be in the same group as an elf and a dwarf. That's really my only limitation that I put on. I don't care what you play in Palladium Fantasy, but I don't run Palladium Fantasy games. I run TMNT, so everybody's non-human. In fact, I force you to be not human. Now, I play humans because I'm not as bad as him in this one, but I'm very human-centric. Like Heathen Dog is. I believe that humans are are the ones that are supposed to be the heroes. The other races are just dumb demi-humans. I don't care. But as far
there you go.
But as far as well, the demi-human I play in D&D is gnomes. So I mean, people complain about that constantly. Now, but as far as what limitations? I mean, if something would I allow a minotaur in the game if it fits the setting? If we're playing in the area where a minotaur could be, sure, and then expanding from there, okay, yeah. But you're gonna be treated like a minotaur.
Yeah, I'm actually going to have to ask, if you don't mind, GM Noob 89, if you could actually, because I don't think we're understanding the question you're asking. So you take a moment, reformulate the question. Brian,
okay, sorry.
Reformulate the question, come back, and then we'll try and sort of answer it based on that. But it seems very chaotic as to what you're asking. Brian's squirrel brain apparently has deciphered it in some way, and now we'll let Brian talk. But I just would like you to rephrase the question for the rest of us. Please.
I think what he's talking about is allowing, at least the way that my brain reads it, is should you allow or should there be a limit on what races you can play in the game? We're not going to play dwarves. We're not, or I don't like the wolfen, so you can't play those.
I'm out.
Yeah, well, that's because you're a furry, Max. We get it. He only plays after the bomb, Bear. Come on, it's a given.
He could be a scaly.
But no, I mean, it goes back to what Max was saying, that it's very much the race as class from old school D&D.
Yeah.
And that's a GM question. If the GM wants to limit it, fine. If you don't want to limit it, fine. But Palladium absolutely is about, here are the tools.
Yep.
Do what you want with them.
So does that answer your question, GM Noob 89? Because I'm not sure, and I'm going to trust Brian's superpower of ADHD to have carried us through. Because that's what I learned from watching Shane Black's Predator, is that neurodivergence is a superpower. Now, I want to chime in on that question. Hang on. The question there was a question directly asked to me. Do you mind if I answer that, guys?
Oh, go ahead.
Jeez. No, because Hyazia has its own races. So no, you can't play giants because there are no giants in Hyazia. There is something called Gyogres, which are basically a hill giant ogre combination, 10 to 12 feet tall. You could play one of those, but they're really rare, and people in towns will freak out when you walk into town and be like, kill it, so have fun.
Real quick, crafting gamer, Bear, we are talking Palladium Fantasy as far as a rule system that Bear's going to run. If you want to know what Bear's actually going to run, you really need to join Bear's Discord.
Yeah.
Because
I'm going to do videos about it. There will be videos coming up where I'm going to explain Hyazia to everybody, and because that's why I'm generating all the AI art right now for the races and stuff. So there will be more to come. But yes, if you join the Discord, you'll get to see a lot of that stuff. And Hungar is going to call you a furry from now on, Max Leo.
And there was an absolute info dump. For those that don't know, I work nights, and so Bear started this whole conversation yesterday morning. It was like, oh, this is kind of cool. And I wake up to just pages of AI images of Bear's new races and descriptions about where these people come from and how the Iconian lords created
I'm sorry, you're saying this is like it's a bad thing?
I did it. It's overwhelming to squirrel brain.
Well, that sounds like a you problem.
I like that me problem.
I read it all on my lunch break, and it was great.
See, and Cody's like, this is so fucking metal.
Yes, exactly.
So there you go. There you go. Okay, so what else do we have? Magic. This is something that's important to me because I have to decide. I'm using 2E, but I some people say they like the 1E magic system better than the 2E magic system with the PPE and all that fun stuff.
I think PPE is fine. It's fine as is. Why change it?
Okay, that was easy. Max Liao.
I only know PPE, so I don't know how the other one runs, and you've got to watch out for a couple of spells, but other than that, it's Armor Ithin, you'll get a lot of complaints on that, although there are a lot of good suggestions as how to defeat it. I'm sorry, Carpet of Adhesion. What am I thinking of? but the PP system works.
I hear Carpet of Adhesion doesn't exist as a spell.
Well, no, there are actually more interesting ways to deal with it. The evil game master, I think it's Evil GM or Evil DM. He's a Palladium. Evil DM, yeah, he's a Palladium fan. He's got some really cool ways of dealing with of Carpet of Adhesion.
I was just bringing Heathen Dog into it. That's all.
Okay.
I'm more willing to ban something than him.
Oh, fair.
To answer Sound Surgeon's statement, all my live streams are left up for review. You can repeat and watch them as you see fit. I try and keep games to about 2 hours, but we agreed for this one, since it's going to be a once-a-month game, we're going to be willing to go longer on this game. So there'll be longer watches when we do actually play it, but it'll be once a month on a Saturday that we can all get together, basically. Hope that answers your question. And if it doesn't, blame Len. Why blame Len? Because he's not talking tonight, so we got to give him a conversation.
Yes, finally, somebody else.
Oh no, you're still the devil in this equation there, Fox RPG.
Okay, Indestructiboy.
Oh.
No, that was Janet. Remember Janet from Another Planet talking about the... Never mind, we'll just keep moving on. So that was pretty simple. We left it pretty much at... No, Jason, I put Bastard Sword on hold. I'm not feeling it. I've decided that with Heroic coming up and that taking up so much of my attention, I don't have the time or the inclination to run it right now. And then this Palladium thing happened. I'm actually kind of excited about it. So stop with the hate, please. Okay. You know what? I'm a person and I have feelings. So maybe you should think about that before you comment, Jason. No, Jason's badass. Jason has to play the station commander in the Paradise Station game, and life is hard, trust me. Bear is running a Play and Fantasy game on stream? Yes, I will be. With the following players: Malachi, Cody, Max Liao, Yield Geek, Curtis, and who am I forgetting? There's one more I'm forgetting. There was 6. Who did I forget? They're all in the Discord. I can go look it up if I want. But yeah, we're gonna be doing it once a month. I don't do it on Discord. I do all my games either with my friends in person at a table or on YouTube. That's what I do. Eye patches and jumpsuits is now my top category. Retract all my earlier laughter. Shut up. Psycho. All right. Any other final thoughts we want to talk about Palladium, or shall we open it up to the audience to give us any questions they have here in the last little bit?
I have a question, which is in the second edition, since a few things are different, I'm wondering, how are the hit points? Like, can you be taken out in one shot? Can you take somebody out in one shot? Is this like a big pool of hit point kind of thing?
It's not the pool of hit points. You have the SDC that they added. First edition doesn't have SDC. Hit points are still calculated the same. It's just that you get a buffer of SDC depending on your class and your physical skills.
Okay.
Of course, a man-at-arms, for example, the soldier, a paladin will have more SDC than like a wizard or a witch.
I mean, just for the folks out there who don't know this, it's not supposed to be a simulation. It is a very cinematic game. So think of yourself as being a hero. So while people like me, I like the idea of one-hit kills because it's more realistic, so to speak. It's not that type of game. It's a game that's meant to be cinematic. You can still die, but it's meant to be more heroic and cinematic about it.
And just really quick, I checked on the Discord, and it's Wolfhelm is the 6th player. Wolfie was the one who wanted to play with us on that one. He was all excited about it.
Awesome.
So sorry, Max Boivin. C'est pas toi. Pas du tout. Anyway, so SDC is low though, right? It doesn't increase as you go up in levels or anything, right?
No, you only get it for your class and your physical skills. That's it.
You weren't pushed out, Max. You're
French.
You're French.
I know.
Wow.
You weren't pushed out. I'll go rewatch the stream and see if it was wrong, and I'll see who I have to push out to put you back in if we agreed to you first. But I thought you were on the waiting list. I thought you and Hungar were on the waiting list. Baron G-Rock says you were never in, Mr. Max. That's what I'm remembering, but he's French Canadian. They like to rewrite history to their benefit.
I want to clarify something. Some of the races do get bonus SDC.
Yeah, that I understand. But they don't go up in level with SDC, right? You just get it.
No.
It's all front loaded at first level, and then away you go, right?
Correct.
Okay. Well, that's not so bad. But I understood. From what I understood, there was a you get hit, the SDC comes off unless they get a specific number, and then it goes straight to the hit points, right? You know what?
I think it's
certain in here, everybody. I will rewatch the conversation and readjust as need be. Okay, Mazel tov, peace to you all. Find the middle road like Siddhartha. You were saying, Malachi?
I believe it's a natural 20, and then I think depending on your hand to hand and the level it is, I think it might increase it.
What that the attack goes straight to hit points?
Yeah.
Interestingly, didn't they take this exact system and port it over when they did Star Wars 3.0? When they did when TSR or West End Games or whoever it was at the time did the D&D 3.0 and D&D 3.5 versions of the Star Wars RPG, didn't they have they had that same structure?
Something similar.
Vitality points and hit points.
And wound points.
Right. And if you hit a crit, it went straight to your wound points or whatever, but otherwise it was your vitality. I think it was a similar sort of setup.
Yeah. Yeah. And vitality was based on level, and I think wound was just based on your
constitution or something. Yeah. Yep.
So I haven't played Palladium Fantasy in quite a while, but I thought that Palladium Fantasy only went direct to hit points if you had trauma attack, but I could be, or sorry, a death blow.
I think that's what it is.
Yeah, it's death blow.
Okay. So that's the only way to bypass the SDC then?
Yes.
That's my understanding, but rune weapons get really weird, and I don't I don't know. And so does some magic. I haven't done magic in the game.
Okay. So James has clarified us. Basically, when he spoke to Wolfie had said yes for the heroic playtest, and I was tired and got confused on that one. So I've removed Wolfie, and I will talk to him on make sure he knows what's going on. And Mr. Boivin, I have added you in. There we go. Look at that. We found happiness and peace because of the guy from Nova Scotia. Thanks, James. Also, James, reach out to me on Discord. I got to make an arrangement to get a replacement bottle somehow, and you're the only one close by to these guys, so we'll have to figure something out. It took me a year to go through that bottle, by the way. Proof I'm not fully Irish, right? All right. Anything else we want to talk about? Anybody from the audience want to give us some questions? Anybody got anything they want to ask us?
I'll ask a question, particularly of the people who play regularly. Is there anything that you usually house rule? Is there anything that you usually whether back on or change specifically? Or that you'd like to, even if you haven't run, but you're like, if I'm going to run this, I'm going to do X, whatever that might be.
One thing I've house ruled in the past is weapon damage, just because the weapons are so disparate of each other. Usually, I just do in the past, and it's been a long time since I've done like a straight Now, I haven't played Palladium Fantasy, but like in Ninja Turtles or whatever, I would do just light, medium, and heavy weapons. And then those would have like a certain amount of damage dice instead of like every single weapon have a certain damage dice, because it's like, why take a longsword over a battle axe when a battle axe does 3d6 and a longsword does 2d6, but they're both one-handed weapons? I don't know. So that's one thing I've house ruled in the past, but other than that, like I just kind of, I probably house rule some stuff as I'm playing the game, which is generally the case with Palladium when I'm running it, because I play Palladium. I play every role-playing game pretty loose and fast. So
okay, super chat on the table. I got to address, guys. Crafty, I only have two answers for you. One, which is Crafty, secure that shit and look into my eye. Right. Now back to this.
And Violence is right. They do have different bonuses and such, but I in the past, I just I kind of do that with a lot of games still with weapon damage. I just kind of make weapon damages pretty
well,
generic.
How does weapon
I
damage
do that
work?
when I
Do you get
design.
dice? Is it like each weapon has a dice value, or is it a fixed damage? Like, what's the difference?
No, they have a dice value. Yeah,
Okay.
but you also, violence is right. You like every weapon proficiency is different, so you get a different. Like if you have weapon proficiency, whatever swords or whatever, then it has a different bonus to attack and parry and all that stuff. So that is the difference. That is the biggest difference between using a certain type of weapon.
Okay, that makes sense.
And and just looking at it off the top of my head, weapon proficiencies are very different in Palladium Fantasy versus the other games. I like literally this is the first time I've seen it this crazy, where every single weapon proficiency is like, oh, you're gonna get these extra attacks, you're gonna get all these, these.
I mean, it is a
kind of
fantasy-based game. I mean, Rifts, they're really expecting to use guns.
Yeah,
so
no, right. But in Rifts, it's like pistol. Okay, you get to shoot with a pistol, but like all of these, the different bonuses and you can entangle this person, you can do this, that kind of stuff. It is way more involved than the other Palladium games.
Yeah,
in my experience.
So, hey, Cody, do you have any Rifts games in your Discord Gilded looking for players? I'm ready to run one and I want to play in one. I didn't know you had a Discord and a Gilded there, Cody.
I don't have a Gilded. I have a Discord, but I don't make a big deal about it. I only use my Discord to organize my games online. So it's like, it's not a community thing. People bullshit and talk there, but it's just mainly like, I just invite the people that are like in my online games and stuff. I mean, anybody's welcome to join, but there's not much going on there. I don't promote it or anything. As far
Brian,
as like,
are you in Cody's Discord, Brian?
I'm not.
Me neither.
You want to be in it, you're more than welcome. But
no, dear God, I wouldn't want to be a part of any club that would have me as a member.
like I said, I don't. I only use it to organize the games that I run. I
barely pay attention to my Discord. I beg. I'm just fucking with you at this point.
But as far as like running a Palladium game, I am strongly considering it since we're all like waving the Palladium flag right now. I would strongly consider like maybe running like a monthly Palladium game in conjunction with Bear, like something different than what he's running. Maybe I'll run like something that nobody runs, like Recon or whatever.
The problem with Recon is it's not really Palladium.
Yeah.
Well, that, Max?
Yeah, it is.
What'd you say, Max?
So the problem with Recon is it's not really Palladium. Don't tell that to Kevin or Sean, but it's not really Palladium. It uses a whole different system.
It's a completely different game, yeah.
Yeah.
That uses the 2-hit template?
The original Recon did.
The original Recon used that template, right?
Yeah.
Well, but also it's like, I think generating stats is like literally roll percentile dice, and that's your stat, as opposed to 3d6 or whatever.
Yeah, it's all percentile.
Is super weird.
First of all, insert name here. I'm ride or die with Cody because we got the shaggin' wagon with the Karna on the side where Nerd wants to be the pterodactyl. You understand? You don't even know. Y'all can hang out behind the school for 20 minutes. We're going on the road trip. Yeah, I think you should run Rifts, Cody. Though I know Brian wants to run Rifts, so I don't know.
I would totally.
I'm only
run
planning on one shot, so
because I think your Rifts would be metal as fuck.
Oh, it totally would. Yeah, no, I would absolutely run Rifts. Actually, I've had a couple people ask me to run Rifts recently, so but I don't want to tread on Brian's stuff.
No, I think what Brian should do what he was asking on the Palladium Gilded is could he run Shadowrun using the Palladium system?
Oh Jesus!
No, just Shadowrun.
It was
in second edition.
It was just a theory that I had. I'm like,
it could be done. I would suggest using Heroes Unlimited as the template for it. You've got Bionics. You've got just make it a dystopian setting, and you can make it happen. You can have the operator be the equivalent, like you'd have to mix some things. You can be the street samurai. You can have all that. The rigger would be the operator.
Yeah. It's it was a thought experiment.
Yeah. It's a good thought experiment.
You got a couple more coming from that blaming me for everything video today there, Brian. Don't worry.
I didn't.
Things.
I said good things. Shut up.
Never met you. Don't know you. Who's Brian?
Actually, about I think everyone here. So.
Well, because of me? No, you met Liao. I met Liao because of you.
No, I think I said good things about literally everyone.
I didn't hear you say much about Malachi, really, to be honest. And
I might have.
Like, I'm sorry, man. And you left out Eli completely, by the way. I was watching. I think I missed someone. I'm like, Eli.
And that's why I said I probably missed someone because, dear Lord, Len, you got a mention, but no, you probably didn't watch the video.
Oh, so that would be Dory. Which one was the pretty one that in the Hobbit, the Turiel fella? Was it Dory? Is that the one that was pretty? The Hobbit. Nobody watched the Hobbit. Okay, moving on. There we go. There we go. Well, I think that brings us to the end of the conversation. We're coming up on the 10 p.m. hour, so I want to thank you guys for being here very much. I want to thank everybody in the chat who participated. All the super chats were great fun, and it was a really good time, despite one little hiccup, but we ignored the hiccup and it went away. It's pretty awesome. Yep. So, Brian, chill your shit.
Gaming with ADHD. I have been super lazy about doing pre-recorded videos, but I am trying to be better. Hence, starting with today's, my RPG goals for 2024. But I talk about everything on the tabletop: miniatures, role-playing, board games. If I'm interested in it, I'm probably going to talk about it. So come hang out. I do a couple live streams a week painting miniatures. I'm really, really trying to make myself get better about doing topics and tangents on Thursdays. I'm just bad at scheduling interviews. And I talk too much. So thanks.
Hardly.
And occasionally you get to hear the peanut gallery banging pots and pans.
Thank you kindly, sir. Malachi, chill your shit.
I am Malachi. I just started up my channel. This is actually going to be the first video on it. Probably going to get rolling maybe beginning of the year. Work's kicking my butt right now.
All right. Cody.
Yeah, you know me. I'm GM Cody. I got a small channel, and I generally talk about old games that I grew up playing from the 80s and 90s. And I don't have like one specific type of game I talk about. I talk about miniature games. I talk about board games. I talk about role-playing games. And I generally do a video once a week. And of course, I'm on the 4-Color Café here Wednesday nights, and I play in Bear's Star Trek game. And it looks
Dr.
like I'll be playing. Yes, Dr. Jeb Taylor. And it looks like I will be playing in Bear's Palladium game, which I'm really hyped about. So,
yeah, but that's an easy one. That's once a month. It's not going to be.
Yeah.
But no. Cody is ride or die. If you are not yet subscribed to GM-Cody at GM-Cody on YouTube, you're a bad person, and we hate you. So there you go. Yeah. Get him to 1,000, guys. He deserves money for all the awesomeness he brings to all of us. Cody is literally 100% the best guy we all know.
We're going to get Cody on the Friday stream.
Yeah,
chill him out some more.
Really do need to get Cody on the Friday stream. Okay, and now my former boss. Len, chill your shit, please.
No, not today. The next time I definitely will, but this time I actually just wanted to take a moment to say thanks so much for inviting me on to this thing. This is the first. We're wrapping up. This will probably be the last one of the year for me, and I'll see you next Wednesday, but we'll be in 2024. And I wanted to wish everybody here on screen and everybody who's listening and everybody else who watches a safe, happy, healthy, and prosperous 2024. I hope all good comes your way and whatever bad is smooth sailing, and just builds your character. So I want to wish everyone a wonderful 2024, and be safe for New Year's Eve.
Thank you. Brian, would you mind showing Len shit for him, please?
Everybody, Lakeside Games, there's a fantastic game you can get. $5. It even has an expansion for another $5. Oh, darn, you're in it for a whole $10 called Black Star. You should check it out.
And you can get print on Lulu, and he gets a better cut.
That's true, too.
Love you, Len.
Thank you, baby.
Mr. Liao, could you please show your shit?
Certainly not going to show Lulu. Thank you to everyone who is watching. Thank you to Bear for inviting me. I really appreciate that. So this Friday we have a members only live stream. I'm going to be giving away Adventures Dark and Deep and Degenesis, the white.
I'll fight you if you win it. Anyone who wins it, I'll fight you for it.
I'm going to win it. Max, make me win it. Just so that Bear can get annoyed.
I'll let you two fight it out. I mean, he has to come to America to get it anyway.
No, I got an address in Vermont.
There we go. Perfect. So that's going to be this Friday. So no public Friday live stream. The next Friday, I want to put this out here because this was a Palladium thing. We're going to actually, unless something really weird newsworthy comes up, we're going to make a character for some Palladium game. I don't know what, but that's going to be the Heroes Unlimited, After the Bomb, Rifts. I don't know. Well, probably not Rifts, but but for one of the games, we're going to make a character. We're going to talk through the process and so forth. So it'll be the Friday after. RPG Digest will be back in 2024. The first two games we're covering, I'm covering, are Aliens Unlimited and the Galaxy Guide. And then Heathen Dog's got Call of Cthulhu and something else. Mongoose Traveler. And finally, if Bear will let me, I'd like to throw the link to our Palladium Megaverse Fans Gilded server. If anybody wants to join that.
Private, and I'll throw it out, and everybody else can throw it on their streams.
It's new. Well, I got it again here. It's new.
I got it.
Okay. It's new. So it needs some love. So don't go expecting you're going to find everything there, but check it out. You can join it as long as you're, if we're pretty strict about the rules. It's not the legitimate Discord server, but check it out. So.
Yep. Thank you very much.
Okay,
now,
hold on, real quick. Max, is 4 hours on the rando stream, is that enough time to make a Palladium character?
As long as it's not a Rifts character, yeah.
The comedy. Well, I'm going to do something that might surprise Brian a little bit, which is I'm going to show my shit for a second. I want to thank everyone who did a signal boost on the heroic backer kit. We've got 231 people have signed up for it. I have sent an email to backer kit going, why the fuck am I being told I only needed 165? I'm at 2 whatever, and it's still saying I'm not ready, but I got an email telling me I should get 6,000 people for a $5,000. Could you please explain what's going on? They'll be back after the first, so hopefully I'll get an answer from them then. More importantly than that, I have made a dedication to myself that I'm not going to do one of these sappy, here's how the year has been and what I'm looking forward to in 2024 videos. So I'm just going to say this. 2023 has been the most amazing year for me in the gaming community because of all of these assholes that are surrounding me on the screen right now, and all of you people in the chat, and everybody on the Discord, and all the panel shows I get to go on and be a talking head on, and all the support I've gotten from all of you, both emotionally and creatively. It has been just an absolute thing. I've made some true friends that are people that I would be very ride or die with, Cody, and I've made I would absolutely love to have a meal with everybody else, because there's always those true friends you can make. Cody, it's always Cody, the rest of you can eat shit. It is, but I absolutely am beyond blown away by the way this community has grown. I set out to do a clarion call to say we can all get together and stop being negative and work together and appreciate each other and support each other. And we've had hiccups along the way. Absolutely. There's some malcontents that have always worked their way into our hobby, and they will always be malcontents that work their way into the hobby, but they are becoming a buzz in the background as we drown them out with the positivity, the support, and the camaraderie that is so important. We're seeing more and more women showing up in our communities now. We're seeing more and more people feeling comfortable expressing who they are, be it religiously, sexually, gender identity, whatever the case may be. People are feeling very comfortable here, and it's creating a really good, solid, positive community, and that's what this should be all about. So my thanks to all of you, and my thanks to all of you here in the panel for this, and to everybody who's not here tonight, thank you as well. 2024, we're only going to get better. Got some games coming up. Friday, we got Paradise Station. That's going to be a lot of fun. Next Monday will be the second episode of Star Trek Odyssey. Next Tuesday, we're going to have finally the Star Trek Sojourner that we had to postpone due to holiday technical difficulties. And then next Wednesday, we're going to have our first 4-color cafe of the new year. No idea what the topic will be. Brian will suggest something. Len will suggest something. We'll go, yeah, that sounds good. Run with that. And who knows who'll be on the panel that night. But thank you all so much. And from the bottom of my heart, I always say be heroic. You have been nothing but heroic, and I love you for it. Peace, love, geek. We will see you guys when we see you guys.